Peace and welcome. Today we have a small riff in which we have found in a few different pieces, most of them from video games, with a few possible inspirations that came before all of those games. So with no further delay, here's an oddly familiar special we have dubbed the Hill Street Tune. The first piece of music we have found this in comes from Hill Street Blues, the intro theme. First airing on January 15th of 1981, this is one of my favorite opening themes from any TV show. It's smooth and it's an easy listen. Arranged and composed by Mike Post, he's well known for his work on TV theme songs, most notably his work on police or law enforcement shows. From LA Law to Law & Order, NYPD Blue, Magnum PI, and of course Hill Street Blues. On a side note, he was also one of two producers on Van Halen 3, along with Eddie Van Halen himself. This might not be the origin of the Hill Street tune, but it's the first one we have found it in so far. Up next comes from Conan the Destroyer, a theme titled Elite Guard Attacks. From the second Conan movie, released in 1984, the soundtrack was arranged and composed by Basil Polidoris. Besides the first two Conan movies, his work has also appeared in Iron Eagle, RoboCop, The Hunt for Red October, Free Willy, Starship Troopers, and many more. He passed away in 2006 at the age of 61 in Los Angeles, California. Compared to the Hill Street Blues theme, it's not an exact match by any means, and I don't even think there's any inspiration there. But it's a fun little mention. Up next, we have a few tunes from the 1988 video game F1 Dream. First up is the car selection theme. And last but not least, the race results theme. Arranged and composed by Manami Matsumae. She's a well-known composer when it comes to games. We've talked about her numerous times on the channel. Her music has appeared in over 50 games. I won't go through every single one, but I will mention a few milestones and a few of my favorites. She started her career off with a bang, composing for Mega Man 1 and 2. She was brought back to compose for Mega Man 9 and 10. She also composed for one of my favorite beat-em-up games at Final Fight, and a game that was a disappointment for most, but no matter what you think about the game, the soundtrack was good, and that's Mighty No. 9. There's also Shovel Knight, which has an underrated soundtrack. In my opinion, F1 Dream sounds more similar to Conan than it does to Hill Street Blues. Next up is one of my favorite retro chiptunes by Sega. From Golden Axe, here's the Wilderness theme. First found on the arcade game, then found in all sorts of ports, including maybe the most popular version from the 1989 Sega Genesis. Also, an underrated version in my opinion comes from the Amiga. Maybe the best version, and the version which reminds me of Conan more than anything on our list today, comes from the Sega Ages remake of Golden Axe. It's not a huge surprise that the Golden Axe soundtrack may have some inspiration from Conan, because many other aspects of the game are definitely inspired by Conan the Barbarian. The characters, the environment, and many other elements have a hint of Conan too. The Golden Axe soundtrack was composed by Toru Nakabayashi. This soundtrack is an easy listen. I don't have to skip any tracks to search for the good ones. I could just let it play all the way through. Up next is our first SNES game. From F-Zero, here's the theme for the course known as Silence. A theme with a faster tempo than most on our list today, it helps drive home the feel of a race. Released in 1990, the F-Zero soundtrack was composed by Yumiko Kanki and Naoto Ishida, with the Silence theme by Yumiko. The theme and track are both named Silence because, for one, it takes place on a planet named Silence, and it's named that due to the fact nothing on the planet creates any noise. The next theme comes from Knights of the Round, and it's the Player Select theme. Again, not an exact match by any means, however the feel is still there. It definitely reminds me of the Conan theme we showcased earlier. Released in 1991 for arcades, the soundtrack was composed by Isao Abe. He joined Capcom in 1990 and he worked on some very popular games, including nearly 20 Street Fighter games, from Street Fighter II to Street Fighter Alpha 3. His work can also be found in The Punisher, Tower of Doom, X-Men Children of the Atom, and quite a few more. Overall, it's similar to a few themes on our list today. Our last entry today, of course, comes from another Capcom game. Here's the Turbo Man theme from Mega Man 7. Released in 1995, the soundtrack is credited to 3 different people, and the Turbo Man theme is credited to the Capcom sound team. This one reminds me mostly of the F-Zero Silence theme, which is one of the only non-Capcom themes, but it has that same vibe. Both have a smooth feel with slightly similar instrumentation. And before we end the episode, here's a quick montage of all the tracks so far. So there you have the Hill Street Tune. If you know any other songs or themes that use something similar, please let us know, and we just might throw it in an upcoming episode. Last but never ever least, shout out to Golden Tier patrons Bearsona, Quantum X, MJJ, Shadow Juste, and FancyJ. I'm ICC. Thanks for watching. Peace.